Imagine hiding out in the wilderness, right? And, the locals you trust, well, they just sold your exact location to a king who actively wants you dead.
Yeah, that is a genuinely terrifying reality.
It really is. And that is exactly what's captured in this 3,000-year-old poem, Psalm 54 from the English Standard Version Bible. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone.
It's basically a masterclass in compressed emotion. I mean,
Okay.
it is packed into just 7 really short verses.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack the context, the high-stakes tension, and the sudden, almost jarring emotional arc that happens right in the middle of it. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, before we even get into the actual poetry,
Yeah.
you have to look at the liner notes, essentially.
Right, the superscription at the very top of the text.
Exactly. It gives these procedural directions, like labeling the piece a maskell for the choir master with stringed instruments.
Which a footnote says is probably, a musical or liturgical term, right?
Yeah, most likely. But then it drops this heavy historical context. David wrote this when the Ziphites betrayed his hiding spot to King Saul, literally asking Saul, "Is not David hiding among us?"
Oh, man. It is so much like a movie's opening text crawl. It just instantly drops you into this high-stress manhunt.
Yeah, you're thrown right in the middle of the action.
So how does knowing David is literally being hunted change how we read his opening plea?
Well, understanding that manhunt context, it perfectly explains the sheer panic and desperation in those opening verses.
Oh, absolutely. Verses 1 through 3 are just this urgent plea for God to save and vindicate him.
Right, he identifies the threat explicitly. He says strangers and ruthless men seek his life, people who just completely ignore God.
Yeah.
And then he ends that thought with the word Selah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Why would he call his attackers strangers when the betrayers, the Ziphites, were actually his neighbors?
Yeah, it seems like a contradiction, right?
Hey.
But a footnote points out something fascinating. Some Hebrew manuscripts and the Targum, which are ancient Aramaic translations, they actually translate that specific word as insolent men.
Oh, really? Insolent men instead of strangers?
Yeah, so it's less about not knowing their faces and more like you are acting completely alien to our shared values.
Ah,
They're moral strangers to him because they do not set God before themselves.
wow. Okay. But then, immediately after describing these ruthless men, the text makes this sudden, fascinating shift.
It really does. It goes from desperate fear to just absolute confidence.
Right, because in verses 4 through 7, he suddenly declares that God is his helper and the upholder of his life.
And he even promises a free will offering because God has already delivered him from every trouble. He says he has looked in triumph on his enemies.
So what does this all mean? I mean, how do we psychologically jump from hiding for his life in verse 3 to speaking about his triumph in the past tense by verse 7?
It's essentially ancient cognitive reframing. Under extreme stress, the amygdala, the threat center of the brain, just hijacks your thinking.
Right, you get that fight or flight panic.
Exactly. And to regain control, you have to anchor your brain to a known, immovable variable. For David, that anchor is his belief in a higher power's past faithfulness.
So by focusing intensely on that, he forces his brain to calm down.
Yes, he forces his amygdala to power down. He turns existential dread into solvable logic. The physical situation hasn't changed at all. The king's men are still out there hunting him.
But his internal reality shifted completely.
Right. He transcends the immediate dread by treating his eventual rescue as a solved equation. It's a rapid 7-verse journey from existential dread to unshakable certainty.
It really is an incredible shift, which leaves you, the listener, with a final thought to explore on your own. Notice the word Selah at the end of verse 3, sitting right on the fault line between his absolute panic and his sudden confidence.
Right in the middle of the text.
Exactly. If Selah represents a musical pause or a moment of silence, what profound internal shift happens in that unwritten blank space before a person can declare victory over their greatest fears?